It was a typical Tuesday afternoon when Elon Musk decided to grab a Taco Bell meal. He froze when he overheard two boys whispering something strange behind him. For Elon, this day felt like it would never end. Meetings dragged on, emails piled up, and big decisions loomed over him like dark clouds. It was one of those days where even someone used to tackling massive challenges, like calculating fuel loads, testing spacecraft, and planning humanity's journey to the stars, felt a little drained. Sure, he was accustomed to his demanding schedule, but today even Elon needed a break. Even a workhorse like him, known for his 80 to 100-hour weeks, was craving some downtime. And that afternoon, he had an unexpected craving. Fast food. Not just any fast food, though. Taco Bell. It felt absurd, considering he was the man who envisioned self-driving cars and a future of humans on Mars. Yet, here he was, craving a Crunchwrap Supreme. But hey, even the richest person in the world needs a taco every now and then. There was something about it, maybe a sense of nostalgia, that made him feel like a regular guy again, if only for a few minutes. It reminded him of his younger days, long before Tesla, long before rockets launched under his direction. Back then, he wasn't much different from any other guy trying to make sense of life, grabbing fast food between coding sessions and engineering projects. Without overthinking it, he jumped into his Tesla and drove to the nearest Taco Bell. It wasn't far. Just a typical suburban location, nestled between a convenience store and a strip mall. It was the kind of place where no one would expect a billionaire to casually walk in for a quick meal. That's exactly what Elon liked about it. As his Tesla pulled silently into the parking lot, he found himself chuckling. What would the media say? Elon Musk ditches work for tacos. He could practically see the headline forming. Stepping out of the car, he looked like an ordinary guy rather than a tech titan. Dressed in a simple black hoodie and jeans, Elon wasn't the eccentric billionaire people expected. He had a knack for blending in when he went solo, with no security detail or assistants trailing him. Just him and his hunger. The bell above the Taco Bell door chimed as he walked in. Inside, it was exactly as expected. A few customers sitting at tables, the scent of seasoned beef and cheese in the air, and the soft hum of a soda machine in the background. No one seemed to notice him immediately, not yet at least. He glanced at the menu behind the counter, already knowing what he wanted. Sure, he was here for a moment of escape, but he wasn't planning on spending all day. A Crunchwrap Supreme was his usual, so today he decided to order two. Why not? Before he could place his order, the cashier behind the counter did a double take. She recognized him, and for a second, she froze, unsure if she was imagining it. It wasn't every day that the man behind SpaceX and Tesla walked into your Taco Bell. But she quickly regained composure and greeted him with a nervous smile. "Hi. Welcome to Taco Bell. What can I get for you?" she said, trying to sound casual. Elon, noticing her nervousness, gave her a reassuring smile. He wasn't in the mood for attention, just food. "Two Crunchwrap Supremes," he replied simply. The cashier punched in the order, trying to keep things normal, though the whole interaction felt surreal to her. She handed him his receipt and said it would be just a few minutes. As Elon waited, he did what most people do to pass the time, let his mind wander. He thought about the upcoming week. SpaceX had major Starship milestones to hit, Tesla's new AI project was progressing rapidly, and his latest ideas about tunneling systems with the Boring Company were starting to take shape. There was always so much to juggle, but in these small moments, it felt good to focus on something simple. It was like hitting a reset button for his brain. He noticed a few customers coming and going, none of them seeming to recognize him. He appreciated the anonymity. For someone who was almost always in the public eye, it was rare to have a peaceful moment in public. Yet, he couldn't shake the feeling that someone was watching him. Then, after he placed his order, something caught his attention. He stopped dead in his tracks when he overheard two boys talking. Something that struck a chord with him in a way he hadn't anticipated. His hand hovered over the counter, wallet in hand, but the conversation in the background made him pause. At first, he'd barely paid attention, assuming it was just the usual teenage chatter. But now their voices took on a different tone. He turned his head slightly, just enough to catch the conversation without seeming obvious. One of the boys, his voice barely above a whisper, spoke quickly, trying to suppress both his excitement and anxiety. "We have to do it tonight," he said urgently. "If we don't, Mom's not going to get better." Elon's focus sharpened. He hadn't expected to hear that. The other boy, apparently his brother, responded more quietly. "But what if we get caught? You know what happens to people who steal. It'll just make everything worse." Steal. The word hit Elon like a punch. He looked over more directly now and saw them more clearly. They were just kids, no older than 13 or 14. They sat hunched over their table as if carrying the weight of something far too heavy for their small shoulders. The older boy, clearly in charge, leaned in closer to his younger brother. "It's just the money from the register. No one will know. We need it, and I don't see another way." Money. Time. Elon's mind raced. This wasn't the usual teenage mischief. This was something different. He could hear the desperation in the older boy's voice, the kind that comes when you're out of options and don't know where to turn. And the mention of their mom, something wasn't right. Elon's instincts kicked in. He had seen a lot in his life, from triumphs to tragedies. He knew what fear sounded like, and this wasn't just kids planning a prank. This was survival. They were scared, and they were considering a choice that could ruin their lives forever. The cashier handed Elon his food, but he barely noticed, his attention fully on the two boys now, piecing together their conversation. The younger boy's voice shook. "I don't want to do this. What if someone gets hurt?" The older boy exhaled deeply. "We'll be quick. In and out. No one gets hurt, I promise. We'll grab the cash, and then we can pay for the medicine." Medicine. That was it. Their mom wasn't just sick. She needed medicine urgently. Elon felt a pang of empathy, something he didn't often acknowledge. He stood there, processing everything. What was he supposed to do? He couldn't just walk away, pretending he hadn't heard. But he also couldn't approach them directly. They'd panic and might do something rash. He had to handle this carefully. Elon Musk is known for solving problems, no matter how impossible they seem. Right now, these boys had a problem, and he had to fix it before they did something they'd regret forever. He turned to the cashier and made a quick decision. "Hey, can you do me a favor?" he asked, his voice low. The cashier blinked, confused but willing to help. "Could you add 2 more crunch wraps to my order? I'll pay for them." The cashier nodded, swiftly inputting the order. As she worked, Elon took a deep breath and turned toward the boys, approaching them carefully, as if solving a puzzle without scaring them. With the bag in hand and a calm expression, he made his way over. The boys didn't notice him at first, caught up in their anxious conversation. But when Elon got closer, the older boy's head snapped up, his eyes wide as he recognized who was standing there. Elon smiled gently, trying to seem non-threatening. "Hey guys," he said casually, holding up the bag. "Mind if I sit for a second? I ordered too much food and thought you might want to help me out with these crunch wraps." The boys exchanged nervous glances, clearly starstruck but still on edge, ready to bolt at any moment. Yet the offer of food and the shock of Elon Musk standing in front of them made them hesitate. Sure," the older boy said, though his voice was filled with uncertainty. Elon sat down across from them, placing the bag on the table and pulling out the extra crunch wraps, offering one to each boy. They stared at the food, confused but also tempted. It's hard to think clearly when you're hungry. Elon waited until they unwrapped the food, taking bites slowly. Their nerves were still visible, but his calm presence was working. "So," Elon began, still casual, "I couldn't help but overhear a bit of your conversation. Sounds like you're dealing with something tough." The boys froze, their faces going pale. The older boy immediately got defensive. "We weren't doing anything wrong," he said quickly, his voice tight. "We were just talking, that's all." The older boy's lip trembled, and for the first time he let out a shaky breath. "Thank you," he whispered, the tears finally spilling over. Elon reached across the table, giving the boy's shoulder a reassuring squeeze. "You're going to be okay," he said quietly. "We'll figure this out together." In that moment, Elon knew he was exactly where he was meant to be. Not in a boardroom, not on a call, but here, helping these kids when they needed it most.